All right, and we're live. Uh, Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. Okay, and now is the time for you to call up your friends, send them the link to this video, and ask them to join us. Okay, all right, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. All right, am I clearly audible to everyone? Can I get a yes in the comments? All right. Okay, fine. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So, again, welcome everyone. And let me tell you the most important thing about today's session that we have planned for you. Okay. Today will not be something where you will be taught a topic, and this will not be a lecture at all. Okay. We want this to be an interactive session where your participation is equally necessary so that we can discuss points that you all have in your minds as well, right? And today, Mr. Jayant and I will be discussing some of the most common mistakes that most of the programmers make, right? And I'm sure many of you will be able to relate to each and every situation and the problems that we'll be discussing today. Okay, and the points that we will be trying to cover today do not only cover mistakes made by beginners, right? No, that's not it. We will also try to cover points from the perspective of an experienced programmer too, and the mistakes that they have made in their learning journeys, and the mistakes and oversights that they still make, uh, that they may face in their daily lives. Okay, we'll be discussing each and every point and each and every problem and the mistakes that most of us face, right? So, before inviting Jayant to join us, I would love to first hear your opinion about what do you think, based upon your personal experience, are the most common mistakes that many programmers make, right? I've attached a voting link at the top in the description given below. So please, I would request everyone to click on it right now and start voting, right? Before I ask Jayant to join us, please let us know what you think. All right, please vote in the link given in the description. All right, the votes are coming in. Let me show you. All right. Okay, so most of you think that people switch too much between multiple languages, and yes, they do very less practice, and of course, people give up too easily. That's right, exactly. And these are most of the points that we'll be covering today. These and much more we will be discussing today. All right, so as I can see, that the opinion of everyone is pretty much scattered all over the place. So, yeah, okay, all right, that will be all. Thank you so much for voting, right? So, thank you so much for letting us know what you think. And these are just some of the broader points that we will be discussing today, and much more in detail. Okay, and now I would like to finally invite Mr. Jayant to join us. Hi,
Hey,
Jayant.
hi.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for setting up the stage and getting the votes in so that we can specifically target the most asked questions by people.
Exactly. And thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out from your busy schedule. So, first of all, I would like you to start by giving a short introduction of yourself so that our viewers can get to know you.
Yeah, so I'm Jayant. I passed out in 2018 from IIT ISM Dhanbad. I did a BTech in computer science. After that, I joined Goldman Sachs for around 2 years. And then recently, I went to Google. I've been here for around 7 months.
All
So,
right.
yeah,
All right, that's great. So you're at the dream company of most of our viewers, right?
yes, you
So
can say that.
that's great. All right. I'm sure people will be very encouraged after listening to you. So great. So first of all, the one thing that we would like to start off with is that we would like you to share your journey with us. Like how did you start your coding journey and what inspired you to choose this as a career?
Okay, so it all started when we were in second year of our college. We saw our seniors doing competitive programming. We didn't
All right.
know the half of it, what was it, and what it's all about. But then we got to know that mostly placements happened due to this. So we started attending some sessions. We talked to our seniors about what it is, how should we begin with it, and then we
Mhm.
started giving contests in it, some long challenges, some short challenges, and then it started becoming like an addiction for that. Like when you start growing somewhat decent in it. So after that, it was no more for only the career standpoint, but also from that adrenaline rush you get solving those questions, right? So it kind of became that. Then we started going on for some good amount of competitions like ACM, ICPC, Hacker Cup,
Mhm.
Code
All
Jam.
right.
So yeah,
All right. So you're the perfect example of you do what you love for a living, right? So that's great for you. That's great. So, all right. So, and mm, coming to the topic that we have today, what were the difficulties that you faced when you started your coding journey?
hmm. So initially, when you start with anything, not only coding, it's very difficult in the beginning. Like you
Yes.
see everyone around you, and you like it overwhelms you, right? Like it's very
Yeah.
tough, and how will I
Yeah.
become good at it? You start visualizing your fears and everything. In college, it's mostly that you'll not get placed if you don't do this. So
Yes.
that starts getting in your head, which it should not. So, like, you should start doing it, get guidance at the right time from the right people.
All
So,
right.
reach out to your seniors who have like made it to big companies or whom you idolize. So,
Mm-hmm.
get opinions from them. How do you start? Uh, it can be college specific mostly or company specific. So, if you are targeting companies like Amazon, Microsoft, it's different kind of practice. If you are targeting
Mm-hmm.
companies like Shaw, Goldman Sachs, it's different kind of practice.
Mm-hmm.
So you should first get your target right. What's your target, or you want to go into some good amount of competition, uh, then your practice is completely different. So you should first identify what's your target, and then you should get relevant guidance.
All right, great, great. And talking about you, and what would you suggest that if someone faces a few difficulties in their journey, how would you suggest, what would you suggest to them that they overcome them?
So the main thing is you should start right. First, you should pick
Yeah,
up any language, be it
exactly.
like plus Java, Python. It doesn't matter much in the long run. So pick up
Yes.
any language. First, get somewhat good understanding of that language. I'll
All
prefer
right.
doing some language-based tutorials like they have at some platforms like HackerRank or CodeChef. So first, try to
Okay.
get a flavor of that language, and then you start going into somewhat basic contests, like not very hard contests, but much
Okay.
more simple at beginner level.
Okay.
Uh, and yeah, like after that, you are shaped into what you want to be in it.
All right.
So there'll be always moments where you will be depressed, kind of thing, because it's not an overnight kind of thing. You'll not become good
Exactly.
in a day or a month.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a gradual process, and it takes time for everyone. So you will
Exactly.
have to be very patient around this. So just focus on doing the questions and not on the results. That
Exactly. So, what you're trying to say is you should first get your basics right and you should just keep on practicing and practicing till
exactly.
you master it. Exactly. So, yeah, and other important thing is to be positive and be motivated and
Hmm.
just keep on grinding till you get the hang of it, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, another question that may be on the minds of most of the people, another mistake that I should say that many programmers face is that they keep on switching between multiple languages before completely learning the present one that they are doing, right? Like they would watch a few tutorials on C++ or Python and make a few codes, they make a few projects, and then move over to the next programming language without and they stop practicing the current one that they are doing.
Hmm.
So, and this is a problem that most of students face, right? So, and what are other challenges that they face while they do so?
So mostly, I think switching languages is not a very good practice. You should try
Exactly.
to become somewhat decent in one language, because learning different languages is not a very hard task. If you understand one language, let's say you understand Java, it'll be very
Yeah.
easy for you to quickly ramp up on C++ or Python or Golang, anything. So you should first try to master one language, be it any
Exactly.
language. It's not an issue. You can do everything in any language. So the reason I see many people who shift languages is like some functionality, let's say big integer or handling of somewhat big integers is properly supported in Python or Java, but it's
Yes.
not very well in C++. So
Yes.
there are some functionalities like big integer. You can learn somewhat Java coding if you have some question around that, but not
Mm.
like dive too deep in that. You just focus on one language and try to develop mastery in that, because
All
switching
right.
languages is not very hard.
Yes, exactly. So you're saying to overcome this problem, they should just stick to one language and keep on
Yes.
learning, keep and learn the basics perfectly first, right? And keep on practicing and practicing and practicing. Because I believe that in the world of languages, more and more updates come in every day, and
Mm.
new things are coming in every day, and it is hard for everyone to keep up with everything, right?
Yeah. So you have somewhat good platforms to practice from, like HackerRank I mentioned. It has some
Yes.
language specific domain sections. So you can go
Exactly.
there, solve around 50 or 70% of that questionnaire. Like for example, if you are starting with C++, you should learn about some STLs, like how to use maps, lists, sets kind of thing. And then you should try to enter some contests.
Yes, exactly. That so see viewers, that is the path roadmap that you should follow ideally to avoid making any mistakes in your programming journey, right? All right. So, and another most commonly seen trend is that students just watch tutorials and videos on different
Hmm.
languages and they do not practice enough, right? This is the most common practicing, the most common problem, right? They
Hmm.
just keep on seeing videos and tutorials, but they think that they have got it just after seeing it, right? They do not practice it enough. So, what would you suggest to our viewers that how should they correct this behavior of theirs?
Okay, so the learning pattern may vary for different people, but what worked best for me was I started any question. If I don't get the hang of it, or I don't know the concept or algorithm behind it, then I
Mm.
started learning about that concept. Like it's not the reverse thing that you first learn the algorithm and then you move to that. So you have any question, okay, let's say it was some graph question, and you know, okay, it required some HLD or kind of some algorithm like that. And then you start learning that thing, because then you are motivated to solve that question, right? You try
Exactly.
everything to solve that question and it'll be more faster for you. Otherwise, if
Right.
you go other way around, right? Like if you start
Mm.
studying graph, it's very vast topic. So for me, I think you should try uh, solving some questions, and if you don't get it, then you go to the tutorials. Like internet is filled with plethora
Yeah.
of tutorials and
With
resources.
plenty of
And
resources.
yes, yes, and we have very awesome resources in many platforms. So you should
Exactly.
definitely avail them. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So before going forward, I would like to remind everyone that I have also attached a query form in the video description. So if you have any questions that you want Jayant to answer, please submit your questions in the query form, and we will answer each and every one of your queries. All right. So Jayant, coming to competitive programming,
Mm-hmm.
right? Many students start going into start dwelling into competitive programming before getting their basics right, before building a strong foundation, right? So, how would you suggest that they correct this behavior of theirs?
Hmm. So uh, I'll try to emphasize it again that your preparation always has to be focused on what target you are trying to achieve. So let's say your target is doing well in some competitions like global competitions like Google Kickstart, Code Jam, Facebook Hacker Cup. So for that, you'll need somewhat good amount of math concepts, basics.
Exactly.
So I'll say like first you should definitely try to master a language, solve some 70 or 80% questions just related to the language, not algorithms. And then you
All
should
right.
try to build some math concepts
Exactly.
because this is the part which most people like they don't see that they oversee it, and this becomes a X factor in some competitions. So you should
Right.
definitely try to master some math concepts. You have some good amount of resources like Project Euler, I believe, is an ongoing contest in HackerRank, and you have many other contests only related to maths. So you should definitely try to get some mastery around that, like learn some concepts like number theory,
Okay.
probability, statistics, kind of things, and then
Okay.
you start developing into other domains like strings, graphs, etc.
All right. So again, learning new concepts and practicing those again and again is the
Absolutely.
key. Exactly. So yeah, coming on the topic of competitive programming, I believe you also have participated in your fair share of contests, right? Would
Yes.
you like to would you like to share your experience of those, and what were some of the difficulties that you faced while preparing for those or while participating, and how did you personally overcome those?
Okay, so my aim was like doing somewhat well in ACM, ICBC, and Code Jam kind of contests.
All right.
So I started practicing on long challenges of Code Chef. You
All
might
right.
have heard about that. Code Chef has some long challenges. Hacker Earth also holds some some week-long contests. So I
Okay.
believe these are the right starting points because they give you around 10 days for 10 problems. So you have a very long amount of like a good amount of time to solve any questions.
All right.
So uh, you just pick a problem, you grill on it for a day or two, then you start learning many concepts around it. You search on the internet and everything around that. So that is what I believe, which builds up the patience and knowledge exponentially. So if you are an absolute beginner, I'll say that you should definitely take part in these contests and these long challenges. Absolutely. And then when
Okay.
you somewhat get a hang of it, then you move to the shorter contests like Code Chef, uh, lunchtime cook off, Code Forces, short contests. So for me, I started in second year on these long challenges, and around after 3 or I guess 6 months, then I started doing some short challenges also. So,
Okay.
but I believe my main knowledge was built up by these long challenges.
Okay. All right. That is very inspirational to hear. I mean, and I believe many of our viewers are completely motivated and charged up after listening to you talk about all these challenges, right? And again, this brings me to the next most commonly faced problem or the mistakes that many people make, right? That there are many open platforms like GitHub and Stack Overflow or Geeks for Geeks. available for students that help them to solve any and all doubts that they might have, right?
Mhm.
Yet most people don't ask for help, and that generally demotivates them to keep moving forward and keep learning, and they just completely give up on the topic, right?
Mhm.
They get
Yeah.
motivated and they give up and they just stop and they start doing something else, and which is very very wrong and a very unhealthy practice, right? So what's your opinion on the same?
So, like as we saw in the beginning from the voting chart, we saw that people giving up easily was the highest rated uh,
Exactly.
there for not getting good at programming, and that's absolutely the case. So you
Yes.
should be very motivated for only solving that question. Don't think of anything apart from that. So
Okay.
I've also spent like many days on one single problem, like the long challenges. So if you get to the seventh, eighth, ninth, or tenth problem of that, it gets very grilling after that point. So you
Yes.
just like you should be only motivated around learning new concepts and nothing apart from that. So
Exactly.
after that gets into your system that you have to learn, okay, this is graph, it has center decomposition, it has HLD. Then you kind of get
Mhm.
excited around these concepts.
Mhm.
Then when you have to learn any concept, you go on like you can go on any platform. They are all
Mhm.
like Hacker Earth, Geeks for
Yeah.
Geeks, Stack
Yeah.
Flow. So anything you can use, all these resources are at your disposal. It's just
Yeah.
that you don't have to give up till the 10th day of that contest.
All
And
right.
yeah, you should just remember one thing that it's not the case that everyone is getting good very in a very short span. You should only focus on yourselves that you should be able to solve this question on your own.
Exactly. So yeah, again, giving up is should not be an option, right? I mean, you keep on grinding, keep on thinking about the problem, and it will come to you. Exactly. So
Yeah.
keep practicing, and keep strengthening your basics, and surely they'll get to the end, and
Many
they'll get
times,
the solution. Exactly.
many times you'll not be able to solve the question, and that's completely
Exactly.
okay.
That
You
should
should only
not
have to,
demotivate
yeah,
you.
yeah. You
Yes,
should
you do
only
not
have
have
to
to get
correct
demotivated.
behavior.
Yes, they should. You should not get demoted from it, and you should keep on trying, keep on learning, keep on moving forward, and you should never ever give up.
Absolutely.
All right. So the next most common mistakes that many programmers make is that they do not have a fixed schedule. All right, they do not take a. They just start coding randomly, and they do not have a fixed timetable that they follow, right? And some days they just skip coding all the way because they believe that they do not have the time, because they do not make a fixed timetable, right? And
Hmm.
how would you I would like you to give some suggestions to the people that they should plan their day and how they should plan their day.
So I'll say it should not be around the timetable. Like coding is kind of you should take it as a hobby, not as something you
Exactly.
have to do every day. You should
That's even
definitely,
great.
yeah, like you should do it whenever you feel like doing it. It should not be the case that I have to do it. I have to do 1 hour of this thing every day. It should not be the case.
All
It should be
right.
like, okay, I have a contest today. I'll have to, you should be motivated around the contest always. Like, okay,
Exactly.
today I have a contest, I'll take part in it. And the
Exactly.
one thing that will take you much forward in these things is that you should definitely try to upsolve. Like, let's say
Exactly.
there was a contest and there were six problems, and you
Hmm.
were able to solve, like, let's say only two of them. So you should definitely try to solve at least third problem after the contest plus
Hmm.
the codes of first and second problems of high rating programmers. So which will give you an idea of how did they solve it so fast and what are the techniques they use which you don't know yet. So you should always take it up as kind of a hobby and not as a task you have to do every day. So I'll say like just don't skip any contest which is coming, be it
Exactly.
on any platform. Try to give all
Exactly.
the contests and try to upsolve at least one question after that.
Exactly.
And these
So
all, if you combine it over many days, it'll turn you into a good programmer.
yes, exactly. So, viewers, again, to sum up, some of the common mistakes that many programmers make is they switch between multiple languages, all right, and they keep learning without doing. Okay, that means they only watch tutorials but don't practice, and they start competitive programming without first building a strong foundation in each subject, and also they give up too easily, right? They don't practice much, and if they face a problem they give up too easily. That's another mistakes that many programmers make. And another is that they don't generally ask for help, or right, I mean there are so many online resources available and they are open and free for everyone, still people hesitate to ask for help. That's another mistake that most of you make. And also they do not follow a time schedule and they do not stick to it. So again, if you want to solve these problems and not make the same mistakes again and again, please rewind this video and watch it again, because Jayant has given some great recommendations and some great advices on how to get on the right track to learning to code, right? So yeah, again, another problem that many people face, Jayant, is that people get stuck in a kind of a tutorial purgatory, I must say. That means that they keep going back to watch the tutorials again and again, and they do not make much progress in their projects, right? Like they watch a video and they practice a little, but they forget what they watched. So they go back and watch it again, and they do not get much ahead in their projects, right? So they
Hmm.
get stuck in this kind of a purgatory situation which they cannot just get out of. I mean, all right, I should say that they get stuck in a kind of a loop, right? That
Hmm.
they get stuck in and they just can't get out of it. All right, so what would you suggest to people like these?
I'll say that you should definitely carve out some notes from whatever you read or whatever video you watch. So you should always
Okay,
have some bullet points for every tutorial you see, and after that, refer to them instead of the tutorial. So you
okay,
should, like, let's say you are watching a video which is 1 hour long. So at
all
every
right,
10 minutes, stop it, pause it, and list down all the gist you understood from that. And if you don't get anything, like you don't understand anything, rewind that 10 minutes, then again listen to that till you are able to understand it completely. And
okay,
always try to refer these notes, try to revise them, or like see them, refer them whenever you have to, and not
okay,
the tutorial, because the tutorial will always be of 1 hour, but your
exactly,
notes will be of 5 or 6 minutes, and it'll be in your language, in your handwritten language, so it'll be much understandable to you.
okay,
Always
exactly.
try to
So,
maintain some, yeah, kind of documentation of everything you read or.
all right, so that is a great idea, Jayant. Again, documentation, reading, writing, and reading and documenting. So that is a great idea, and I'm sure from now on, many of our viewers will follow your advice. Right? So great. All right. So now we would like to throw it open to our viewers. Right? We have received some questions from our users. So I would request you, Jayant, to answer them.
Sure.
All right. Again, viewers, please submit your queries in the form link given in the description, and Jayant will answer any and every question that you might have, because we do have time right now. So please submit your question in the form, and we will try to answer it right now. And All right, then I have a question. Can I show it to you?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a query from Mr. Supratik Ghosh, and he has asked that how much time should he give to DSA, and he is from a non-CSE branch, and he is having problems in practicing. So what would you suggest to him?
Okay, so it's kind of I've seen this practice that many people who are not from CSE branch think that this is a disadvantage. So I'll try to clarify it's not a disadvantage. I've seen many great programmers from my college. Even in Google, I have seen many people who have come from non-CSE branch like mechanical, electronics, and other branches. So the language is never the stream is never a barrier for these companies. So you should always try to practice these DSA questions if you are targeting for some interviews. Like let's say you practice on Geeks for Geeks platforms or Lead Code or Interview Bit kind of things. And if you have a target, then you should try to keep a timetable. If you are also doing a job and you have to switch it, then you should like try keeping some 1 hour or 2 hours reserved only for DSA questions.
Okay,
And yeah, I guess in about 3 or 4 months, you'll be at a good level for giving these interviews. But you should never think that if you're from a non-CSE branch, you'll not get through. That's never the case.
okay, that's great advice. Okay, so another most commonly asked question that we have received right now is this, that what is the perfect way to learn all the concepts, right? Like, should they learn everything at first and then start practicing, or learn one thing and practice it and master it and then move on to the next thing?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. Kind of makes sense to go on the first thing, and many people would be doing that. But that's kind of a tricky path because if you pick up any concept, right, be it strings, maths, graph, it's very vast and you can never complete it.
All
So
right.
it comes down to the second thing that you practice some questions, and then when you don't understand that, then you go to those topics. So first, absolutely, you should get some somewhat foundational knowledge about the concepts. Like let's say, if you have to do some graph questions, you should first try to read something about DFS, BFS, Dijkstra, some basic algorithms like that, and then you
Exactly.
jump on to the questions. It's not like that you just start graph and then you are learning about DFS.
Mhm,
First, you
exactly.
should get somewhat clarity about some basic concepts from that domain, and then
Mhm.
you proceed on to some more specific algorithm like Tarjan's algorithm, or in strings you have some concepts for finding the like period of the string and some suffix arrays, palindromic trees.
Okay.
So yeah, like first build somewhat foundational knowledge about the concept, and then you
Mhm.
move on to the questions. And
All
then
right.
from there, if you don't understand something, you go to these blogs and these videos and you learn that.
Exactly. So use the resources when you get stuck, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, okay. Uh, okay. The next question, again, a most commonly asked question: how to stay motivated and stay confident?
So the confidence will build if you start getting somewhat good at it. So initially, we don't have confidence in it because we are not doing very well as compared to other people.
All
But you
right.
should always not try to focus on ranks. Many people do that. Even I did that when I started that. So it
Right.
kind of demotivates in the beginning that the rating is not increasing or the ranks is not coming good, even when I'm doing it for 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
But you should try to switch that mentality and see what type of questions you're not able to solve and why you're
Okay.
not able to solve it. Are you lacking something? Is there any concept that you don't understand? And if that's the case, it's very easy to get through. Like you'll take a day or two understanding some algorithm, some data structure, anything, and then you can implement it. So you
All
should
right.
always think about what kind of problems you are not able to tackle, and the ranks
Mhm.
will keep on getting better
Mhm.
as you do this.
All right. So we can say that you did learn from your mistakes and get better in it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because if you
exactly.
if you start thinking about the ranks, right, it gets into your head during the competitions. So then you are not able to solve the questions. You always are thinking that you are not getting a good rank during the
Mhm.
contest, which is very dangerous. So
Mm.
you always try to focus on the question and concepts rather than the ranks and the consequences of that.
All right. So, okay. The next question that we have received is your suggestion on which language is better for CP.
So it's kind of a debatable topic, but from my opinion,
Mm.
I'll say from what I've seen that C++ is it has a slight advantage over the others because of a couple of reasons. It is like short to write, even though Python is shorter to write, but there are many blogs and many tutorials which are very C++ oriented. So in C++, we have vast amount of resources. If you are looking for some language driven example, so if you are an absolute beginner and you haven't chosen a language, you could try C++. But if you have chosen Java or Python, it's always like it's never the case that languages stop you from uh, doing some question or learning some concept. It's just that C++ has slightly more advantage in comparative, as I see.
All right.
But you'll see
So,
many programmers doing in Java, Python,
mm,
like either languages you can pick up.
all right, all right. So, okay, that's a great answer, Jayant. Great. And okay, along with the competitive programming, what are some good project domains one can do or practice or think of doing while applying for a job?
Uh, so for this, I'll say that you should try to get a flavor of everything in computer science.
Right,
Like try
exactly.
to do every kind of project. Like if you are able to do some ML course, some Android, some WebD, anything, you should like try your hands on everything in your college at least. You have a lot of time for that. And then when you have tried on everything, then you should decide as per your interest what excites you the most. For some people it might be ML, for some it might be Android,
All right,
and anything. And you should then try to go deep in that because everything has scope, everything has jobs. So you should never be like kind of in that state that if I do Android or WebD, I'll have more advantage. It's never the case. Everything has job if you are good at it. So you should try to see what interests you the most. And in college, I'll definitely advise you to try on every project, anything, any course that you can get your hands on. And then you should take your own decision rather than listening to someone like this has more opportunity and this one doesn't have.
exactly, exactly. So, again, another commonly asked question that we have received just now is that after getting stuck at a problem, users just see the solution of it and they think that they have understood the solution and move forward, right? But after a few days or 15 days or a month, when they revisit the same problem, they do not know how to solve the solution. They do not
Hmm.
know how to solve the question, and that demotivates them, right? And people usually tend to give up in these situations, right? So what would you suggest to them?
So it's kind of like an imposter syndrome in it that you
Yes.
read the solution and you think that you know it. So it's actually not the case. If you are forced to see a solution, that means there was some concept that you didn't know. So you should definitely try to code it up and maintain some notes or something that you can revisit if you are stuck in some question.
All
So
right.
so I'll say like if you are stuck in any question, you should definitely try to code it up after you see the solution. And
Mhm. Okay, so building up on that, how to build logical thinking in coding? This is another question that we have received the most.
so I think everyone is good in logical reasoning. It's just about practice in computer science. So the more
Okay,
questions you practice around these topics, the better you get at it. So if you are
okay,
not able to think very fast or accurately in any competitions or questions, it's not the case that you are not sharp enough. It's the
Okay.
case that you haven't practiced that much as much the other person has done. So you never get demotivated in that. And yes, it kind of takes some time to build that thing, but once you'll have it, you'll like kind of enjoy giving the contests after that.
Is exactly. So after time you do start enjoying what you do, right? So and that should be the way it goes, right? You should
Hmm.
enjoy what you do for a living.
Hmm.
I mean, otherwise there's no point in doing it, right?
Absolutely. You are either
Exactly.
completely in it or completely out of it. There should be no midway.
Exactly. Exactly. So, okay. Another question that we have received from Karthik is that he is currently working as a big data engineer. Good, great for you, Karthik. And he is currently working in TCS, and his dream is to work the in one of the companies among the FANG. So, from now on, should he focus on learning ML or DSA?
So Karthik, I'll say whatever interests you the most. If you are into big data, you should definitely focus on that.
Okay,
But for these FANG companies, they do require somewhat good understanding of DSA. So you'll have to give it some practice for clearing the initial rounds. But after that, it's all on your interest and what field or what roles you are applying it for. But
right.
yeah, you still need to clear some amount of DS interviews, like 3 or 4 interviews, depending on the companies.
Yeah, exactly. So again, learning basics and building a strong foundation is the most important thing, I must say, right? So another question is a little, we have received a question for you specifically, that how is working at Google different from working at Goldman Sachs?
Hmm. Uh, as of now, I don't feel much of a difference. I had a platform team in Goldman also, which was very tech oriented, and Google
Okay,
is obviously tech company, so almost every team is tech oriented. So from
okay,
that perspective, there's no difference. But I think work-life balance is almost the same in both the companies.
okay.
So I feel it's not much of a difference. It's just the company name have changed and somewhat the projects have changed, but the life is still the same.
Uh,
So yeah, like both are awesome companies.
Yeah, so, but trust me, you are living a programmer's dream life, like what they do, and you are doing it. So great for you, and very, very motivating for each follower and viewer that are watching you right now. Right, so great, great work. All right, so moving on to the next question. Can problem solving and logical skills be developed through competitive programming?
Uh, yes, absolutely. Like as I said, that everyone have logical reasoning. It
Hmm.
just it's just that in these interviews we are tested on these TS algo questions. So you just have to practice on those lines aligned with the expectations of these companies. So it's not that if you are not able to do question, you don't have logical reasoning. It's never the case. It's just the case, like I said, that you haven't done that type of question, and you haven't have like you didn't have that much exposure to that domain in which that question was asked. So
Hmm.
like don't get demotivated. Try to solve as many questions. In programming, it's all about practice. Anyone you see who is better than you, like he or she, they would have done more practice than you. So anything that can be achieved by practice is very good, because if they have done it, you can also do that.
Exactly.
So
So yeah, again, keep practicing and keep practicing. Exactly. Great, great answer, Jayant. Okay, so another question. With what is the best path for a beginner to learn programming to become a data scientist, and what concepts should we focus on?
okay, so for data scientists, I'm believing that you would be into ML kind of things. So you
Yes.
should definitely try to pick up some language like Python or R or some other language which suits you. And then you should if you are trying to go for these roles, you'll have some different kind of trajectory than the other ones. So
Yes.
like you should try to have some courses, like do it from Coursera, Udemy, anything, and try to
Mm-hmm.
get some foundation in the first you should try to understand these languages, and then you try to gain some confidence around some concepts like gradient descent and some other ML algorithms. So after that, I think you'll be good to go. And you should
Okay.
definitely, if you're targeting for a role, you should definitely try to speak up, like speak to the people who are already there, like what
Yes.
are the expectations for these interviews, and then you should try to make some schedule for achieving that in a year or so, whatever your target.
Exactly. Great advice, Jayant. So we have received another question from Abhishek, that is most common mistake that many people make, right? That they start practicing question and directly go to the solution without
Hmm.
even trying to solve it. So is this a good coding practice? I mean, even I can say that no, it should not. It is not a good coding practice, Abhishek. So yeah, Jayant, what would you suggest?
So I'll say that the basics of programming is that you should learn to think. So you should give some time on any problem,
Exactly.
even if you don't know the concepts. Like let's say you should say that you can set up your own time. Like let's say I'll give half an hour for every problem I solve. So
Exactly.
if you don't get anything in these 30 minutes, then you should
Mhm.
start looking for the solutions. And then also
Okay.
you should try to partially look the solution. Like let's say you're not able to solve a question, you should see what kind of topics that question belong to, like bit masks
Mhm.
or any of these topics. Then you should
Mhm.
see if this is a topic you have studied or not. If yes, then you should go another level down and see, okay, in this topic, what was the main section this question was like highlighted on. And then you
Okay.
should like, try to learn that and then come back on that question. And if you're not getting anywhere, then you should read up the full solution and then code it yourself. Until you are able to do it yourself, you should not give up on the option.
Exactly. That is some great advice, right? And another thing is that uh, there are many updates that come in almost every day. So what would you suggest, that how do people stay updated with the changes in the technology?
So I think you should be like if you are a computer scientist or you are from a computer science background, you should be like you should be passionate about technology at the face of it, I'll say, and you should be regularly updated to some blogs, some technical blogs. You should try to
Right.
read topics of your interest, like if AI or ML is your thing, you should definitely read about those things. If you are interested
Mhm.
in Android updates, you should definitely subscribe to those blogs and watch some channels. Like in YouTube, you have channels for almost everything, some great channels. So you
Mhm.
just try to spend some time on your weekends or every day to like stay updated with that technology of whatever is your thing.
Right, exactly. Great advice, Jan. Great advice. So the next question that we have received from Mr. Satya Rajkumar is that he is currently doing electrical computer engineering, and he wants to ask that does a ECE guy has to have to know computer networks, OS, and DBMS to get into some of the FANG companies?
Also share which company to hire EC guys. Okay, so the company you have listed down, they may have some role that requires specifically computer science people to be involved in it. So,
Yes.
uh, like if you are talking generically, if you are going for any interviews for these fan companies, you should definitely have some idea around computer networks, OS, and DBMS. Like you should be able to showcase that you are genuinely and you should be actually genuinely interested in these things. It's not that you have to fake it. Most of the companies won't ask you this, but if they do, they would expect you to have somewhat like a foundational knowledge about these things, because when
Right.
once you go into any company, right, you will have some work around DBMS and OS or computer networks. So they'll expect you to have it. It can be more specific around the roles you are targeting, but in general, you should definitely have some good amount of basic knowledge around every domains of this sort. And
Right.
for EC, I'll say that, like as I said, that a branch is never a barrier. So there are always
Mhm.
positions I've seen even in Google, and many people in many companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and other tech companies. They are, yeah, like from mechanical. Mechanical is still farther away from computer science, but I have seen people from those domains also. EC
Yes.
is still much more relevant to computer science, so like, you should not worry from the branch specific point of view.
All right. So again, we have received a very good question in the live comment section from Mega Gupta. That is mathematics important for programming?
Hmm. So it's not very important, but it helps you understand somewhat good amount of questions, I'll say. So maths, I said, you should be good at if you are targeting some like high profile contests, then definitely you have to learn maths. There's no escape for it. But if you are
Right.
targeting only for interviews of the companies, it's not like much, it's not very relevant for that. You should have some basic knowledge of maths, which we all have after 11th and 12th or college kind of studies. But if
Right.
you are targeting some for some competitions, you should definitely have a very good understanding of maths.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, knowing is never a bad thing. Knowledge is never a bad thing, I believe.
Yeah.
Exactly. So okay, another question that we have received from Mr. Pavan Kumar is that he has learned all the concepts in Java, but he is not able to write programs. Please suggest how to overcome that.
So uh, it's never the case that you can know whole language. Like a language is very vast, but you should
Exactly.
start from the very beginning. Like try doing some tutorials and code along the way. Like when you watch a tutorial, you don't just see the video and go to the next one.
Hmm.
You like you see that video until you are able to code it on your own. Like you download some softwares like Eclipse, IntelliJ, if you are doing it in Java, and then you like try to learn it hands on. Keep it in your mind that if you are not able to code it yourself, then you don't understand it very well. Just
Oh,
seeing will not be like very beneficial, so you should definitely try to code along the way from the very beginning, hello world program to whatever level suits you, like making applets or anything of that sort. You should definitely be very hands on in any practice you do.
exactly, exactly. So another question that we have received is again about making a timetable or keeping a balance. Is that uh, how to make a balance in practicing DSA?
Hmm.
While working a job from 8 to 9 hours, 5 days a week, working fresher. Alright, this question is asked by Mr. Vishrut Vats. So, would you like to share? Would you like to give some advice to him?
So I'll say if you have to change your company, you should definitely, if you are doing a job also, you are on a very tight schedule. So if you are
Yeah.
not able to carve some time out in your weekdays, you should definitely try to get some times in your weekends. Like you can like specifically dedicate 3 or 4 hours Saturday, Sunday, and just solve these questions. And I think in a span of like 5 or 6 months, you'll be in a very good stage because
Right.
you are doing this kind of 8 times a month, and if you like multiply it by six, it's like kind of good thing. And
Exactly.
try to do it 2 or 3 hours every weekend, and you'll be in a good shape.
All right, great. So, coming to the next question, while solving DSA problems, I get to the logic to solve the problem, but during the implementation of logic as code, I find it difficult to put my idea into code. What are the effective ways to overcome it?
So this is the case where you should definitely first try to get a good sense of the language you are using. So
Right.
if you are having some difficulty in implementing something, that means that you should go back and revise somewhat language specific stuff. Like as I mentioned, like you should try to study as much standard like template library for C++, similarly for Java and
Right.
Python libraries. And then you should try to come back and code these algorithms in those languages.
All
So this
right.
should not be the case that you are not able to implement something once you are able to understand what should be done,
Hmm.
because language should never be the barrier in your case.
All right. Great. Great. That's a great answer. All right. Coming to the next. For a product-based company, is DSA and C++ enough?
So any product-based company will never judge you on any language. That's for sure. So you
Right.
can like have mastery on any language. It doesn't matter to them because after coming inside, you can be working on Java, Python, C++, TypeScript, Golang, anything. So you should just focus on, first of all, like you should first see what are the eligibility like criteria for those roles that you have applied for. And
All
if it
right.
has written down that DS and Algo are primary like eligibility criteria, you should definitely try to get some hang of it, and then you should
Right.
apply for that. Because if they are saying that, they'll at least take 2 or 3 rounds on that. And
Right.
for
Right.
companies, DS and Algo is somewhat on an important step for getting in.
Right. Great. Great. So another question is that a student is from a tier 3 college, and what should he do to make his resume stand out from the rest in his on or off campus placement interviews? And also, how important is the rank of the coding contests and projects?
Hmm. So I'll say if anything interests you very much, be it competitive programming, ML, or Android, first of all, you should try to do some good projects in it. And then you should, if your resume is not getting shortlisted, which might be the case because these companies, like the FANG companies, they would be getting
Hmm.
many applications in a day. So
Yes.
it is very unlikely that any resume will get shortlisted. So you should
Sure.
try to get some like you should try to contact people from these companies and send them your experiences, your interests, and you should try to showcase them that they can be a value add to the company or your team, and then you should be good to go. Like I have personally referred many people who had done some great projects. I found it very great, and I
Right.
thought that they'd be a good fit for some role. So you should definitely be very upfront about it, that what excites you, and you should have some evidence to support that you should have done some good amount of projects, or
Hmm.
anything any domain you find interesting. And yes,
Great.
competitive ranks do place like they have a good place. Like for Google, they hold this kickstart every year, primarily for
Yes,
hiring. So
exactly.
if you get a good rank in it, I'm not sure what's the bar they hold for that, but if you get some good rank, they'll call you up and set up some interviews with you.
All right, that is a great piece of information from you, Jayant. Thank you so much. All right, and another question that I believe you can relate to is how to manage college and CP together. Again, it is
Hmm.
a time management question, and how would you suggest to do this?
Uh, so I think everyone can relate that college exams are not like very difficult. So
Right.
you can study like a month, or for some people a week, or some people a day before the exams. So
Okay.
so exams are not a big deal in colleges, and you have ample of time to explore your other interests, be it competitive or be it any other field in computer science.
Hmm.
So in college, I think you have a free hand of exploring everything, and you should definitely do that in your 4 years. Plus, you should keep somewhat like good GPA also, like for yourself. It's not
Yeah,
that these for these companies it matters, but like for your like it can be done, so it should be done. So I
exactly.
think these both can be very well be managed together. And yeah.
All right. So the last question for today, and I believe a very good one, is what would you suggest a non-computer science student what would you suggest a roadmap to him to become a programmer?
So first, you should be very clear on why do you want to come to these companies, the like product-based companies or tech companies.
Exactly.
So, like you should see what your interests are, what excites you the most. As I keep on saying it again and again, but that's the thing that you should explore your interests in every domain. And once you
Exactly.
figure it out, like if you see, okay, this is my thing, then you should see like in most of the companies you have to do some DS algo. Then you should get started on that, figure out some way, try to give some contests of getting good at it, try to solve some interview bit, geeks for geeks, lead code
Yes.
kind of questions of that company specific domain. And
Right.
I think yeah, after doing that for a year or so, you will be at par with any CS student. And also
Exactly.
like, try to get some good foundational knowledge about DBMS, OS, and
Right.
networks.
Right. 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 So, all right. So I believe that was all the questions, and we have covered it. We have covered every problem and every mistake that most of the programmers make pretty well. And I'm sure people will be coming back again and again to watch this video and learn from you and act on the great advice that you gave them today, right? So, again, viewers, if you have any more questions or any more advice that you require, we have attached Jayant's LinkedIn profile link in the description below. So please do contact him if in case you have any queries or any questions that you might want to ask, right? So again, Jayant, thank you so much for being with us today and joining us and sharing your immense knowledge with us. So
Thanks.
thank
Thanks.
you so much.
Thanks for
And
having
that great session from you and some great advice to each and every one of our viewer. And I'm sure people will be pretty motivated after hearing you and after watching and after listening to you and your journey. So great work, Jayant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon again with another webinar or workshop where you will be sharing your knowledge with us again, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jayant. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Very great evening, and thank you. All right. Thank you so again. Thank you so much, viewers, for being with us today. And we hope we have answered each and every one of your queries. And keep following us on our social media handles to stay updated with all the great webinars and workshops we have coming up for you. Right? Thank you so much for being with us today. Have a very great evening. Thank you.